Salutations, everyone. I'm here Bikochi, and welcome back to something I've never done in a long time: movie reviews. I have been very distant with these lately. Hey, but now I've seen a couple of movies I kind of wanted to talk about that I really thought that I wouldn't talk about because I didn't think it would make a full video at that point. Who knows? So, I'm here to talk about a bunch of movies that I've seen recently that are new, that are fairly new, and that I recently currently watched. My first up on my list is Evil Dead Rise, the more recent film I saw, which I said I am uh I don't think I'm gonna edit that out, me burping when I was trying to talk. um Evil Dead Rise. I saw this today. It came out on digital recently. I never got to see it in the theater, which is sad because, most of my family members in my household do not like horror movies as much as I do. And I really wanted to see this in the theater, but I never got the chance to. You know, I spent my money for one horror movie that I saw, and that was Megan. Was it worth it? It honestly was. It honestly was worth it. But I talked about that in the podcast, which I don't know if the recordings are still up anymore. I don't know if they're saved. They probably not. But I talked about my thoughts on Megan a while back. The unrated cut is slightly better, slightly gory. Like, it's not that much gory, but it does improve the film a little bit more for its kills. Which I would say I recently did see the Evil Dead 2013 remake again, but this time the unrated cut, which I never saw. I never did see the unrated cut. I've only watched the theatrical cut for almost my entire life back in the 2010s, and holy shit, the gore in that movie was up to 11 unrated, and it was amazing. Like, all the violence was stepped up. Everything was like, they showed you every single detail that wasn't in the theatrical release, which I thought was like, you can never go back to the theatrical cut after watching that, which is probably my opinion for a majority of movies I see that's an unrated or an extended cut. Because usually every time I see an extended or unrated cut of a movie, I never look back at the theatrical cut, except for Deadpool 2, which I thought the extended cut for that movie was fairly meh. Like, there were a few jokes I thought were funny, mainly from the intro, and a lot of other stuff that was pretty decent. Even new jokes they added into the movie, or other stuff that just didn't work. I mean, to be honest, I did like the baby Hitler scene where Deadpool said he was going to go back in time and kill him, and he eventually doesn't. I thought that was a hilarious scene, but I'm getting off topic on this with what I'm meaning to talk about with Evil Dead Rise. And that's to say, I was trying to figure out what is bothering me with the movie. Like, I couldn't figure out what was bothering me because I enjoyed the hell out of it. Like, a lot. I love the violence, the kills, the gore, and the promise of the gallons of blood they said they used to make the movie. And I can tell you, it shows how much blood they use in the film. And I think it's mainly for a few scenes in the movie, which I won't talk about. But I will say, it involves an elevator and a wood chipper. I can tell you those are the best parts of the movie that I like. Other stuff I like about the movie that really intrigued me was the different setting. And it's crazy seeing the different setting. Like, the majority of the Evil Dead movies is always in that cabin. Like it's always in that cabin. It's always been in that cabin. The Nobby cabin has always been like the staple and location for all the fucked up shit to do when nothing is going your way in in Evil Dead. Like you can get trapped in there a majority of ways. The bridge would be out, or a flood would happen, or you get teleported to the fucking medieval times, which is probably the only different location, which isn't something that I could say is good because, it's not horror, it's more action, horror, fantasy with Army of Darkness, especially even if the scenes were cool, like him being in medieval times or when he is fighting a deadite at a supermarket, which was pretty cool. But this one, it did intrigue me a lot because the setting was different in a rundown apartment building. And I was already sold on the idea because the all the stuff that I was thinking that my imagination was running wild with was the possibility of like how are they gonna pull this off? And I think they do it well. Writer director Lee Corin, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He does a great job with writing how people are gonna get out of situations or how are people stuck in this moment. And they give a lot of good reasons. And mainly the reason is like one, the apartment building is like run down, it's not reliable, a lot of things have been ruined. The only place of escape in that floor that they're in is the elevator. There's no fire escape exit, there's no stairs, which is like a pretty shitty design flaw if you ask me when it comes to that, especially like the elevator's not working or the or like they're too high up a story to escape, which would potentially leave their own death. It kind of reminded me of 1408, sorta. Being trapped in one room, the only form of escape is through your death, which is going through the window. Um, there is no way you can get out, and you have to try and survive as best as you can when you're in the building. And I did like that setting, that setup. That setup is amazing. I thought it was great and it brought up kills. I think a creative thing I liked, since they couldn't do the whole tree scene where you're tied up by the vines or like the tree, and you know what happens after you get attacked by one of the trees in Evil Dead. Yikes. I thought the most creative thing they did was they used electric like cables that were from the elevator as a good like replacement. I was like, that's creative. I actually like that. That was actually pretty cool. Um there was a lot of things I thought were more interesting that they did different because it's something creative I liked about this movie that does different. That, when I see like the only time I've seen a deadite outside of a cabin is Ash versus Evil Dead, but I kind of want to see it more leading towards the horror and suspense aspect and more than the horror comedy aspect that the Ash versus Evil Dead series did. And I can tell you this, they go all out like with these kills. I kind of was like wondering what were they going to do with the cheese grater. And I was sorely disappointed. Because I seen this cheese grater like promoted the hell out of these posters. Like it's this big item that you never seen used in a horror movie before. And then they just use it to like cut up someone's leg. One of our main leads gets their leg cut up from it. I'm like, that's it? You kind of overhyped me on this cheese grater, and I'm kind of disappointed on it. Like, I really thought it would have been more creative. I really thought they were gonna go all out saying like, this is the kill that you're gonna use for the cheese grater. And it's like, nah. I was like thinking it was gonna be used for like one of the characters in the apartment, but it wasn't, sadly. You know, I did like a bunch of like the characters a bit more than the ones in the remake. I mean, there's only two characters I loved in that I cared about and I was hoping they wouldn't die, and that was Mia and her brother. And but her their friends, I didn't give a shit about the friends. I like this family a bit more. I think they are a step above the friends characters in the 2013 remake. Not that much. I don't think they're developed that well that much. I mean, there is some development with them and the hardships they're going through, but not much character development between them. Like you get a throwaway line of, one of the kids are a activist of some sorts, I think. One is a DJ, and the little girl who is like a believer of like ghosts and monsters and such, that's in the apartment building. Like that's it. Like not much, but there was at least a little bit of character that you can see peeking out. I think I did like the interaction between the two sisters. Like I liked Beth, and I forgot the mother's name, but I liked Beth and the mother of the kids. I did like them. I did like that there was this like you see there's like this separation between them, but you can tell they're still close. Like you can tell that they care about each other a lot. And one of them is sad that they made a mistake and they wish they can fix and redeem things between the two. And also I love like there is this like horror for her that she's coming to grips realizing that, oh shit, I'm gonna be a mother. And you could see her contemplating that, not knowing if she's gonna be good with kids. And I did like that when the mother is already possessed by the Deadites and the demon. I did like that she had to be the mother at that point. She had to care, and she feels like she's not good at it at first, but she does her best with what she does and tries to help the kids no matter what. She did seem like she was great with the kids. She did seem like she was great with the little girl, obviously her niece, and she tried to be there for her and try to be more attentive. But and you can see that she is like feeling she'll suck at it, but so far she did a great job with caring for them, especially at the last moment she had to help protect her at the end of the film, which shows that she grew up and said, you know what, I think I'm ready to be a mom, probably. And I did like that. I kind of like the character development for Beth. I think she was great. She kind of goes in the same ranks as Mia for me, coming to grips with something and overcoming it at the end, kind of the same similarities and such. Rest of the characters, it's like, I feel like I wish there was more development for them instead of just being, body bags at the end. And there's a lot of stuff I love. Practical effects, mainly. Practical effects in this movie are awesome. Like, a lot of this, I don't know what was CGI in this movie. Like, I'm trying to think what was CGI in this film, and I can't take a fucking guess what would be CGI. Because a lot of the stuff I've been seeing seems practical. Like, There's an earthquake scene in this movie, and I was like, that looks practical. There is oh my god, there was the scene with the elevator, which is like, holy shit, um they actually did fill that fucking elevator up with blood slowly. And I was like scared, thinking, oh shit, they could fucking drown in that blood. Um all the like other stuff, like the kills, the violence, like the fucking like the leg getting like ripped off and the hand getting ripped off. Like there is one person in this movie that gets their hand ripped, torn apart clean, and yeeted against this fucking corner of the wall, and their brain just smashed. And I was like, oh shit. And it was through the perspective of like, I can't even remember the name of these. The fucking like peephole that you see that's in like a lot of doors to see who is like at your front door. You know those things. I can't remember the name of them. Um and it was like brutal. Like a lot of kills were brutal in this movie that I fucking loved. Um some that made me laugh hard because of how it was executed. Like there's one scene where Beth goes and like hits her sister, her possessed sister, and then it's this shot with her standing like, bitch, what did you just do to me? And it cuts to a different shot as she's thrown out of the room. Like that felt so comedic and laughable that I just like started like laughing so fucking hard like a donkey. Um Oh my god, what else was there? There's like a lot of. I see the intro was a very iconic scene as well. The intro was like crazy. Um how they begin it. It was like a strong beginning where you see like they're in a cabin in the woods, obviously. Big shock. But the intro was, I love the intro of the movie, but I feel like the intro could have been better. Like they showed the Warner Brothers logo and the New Night Cinemas logo, obviously, and then it cuts to like, you know, the Evil Dead camera shot where you're like, the camera's like going by really fast in this POV perspective. It's going through all this terrain and the water and all the trees and the forest and goes to that lake, and then and it's revealed that it wasn't like, you know, like a demon or a deadite like flying through and waiting to possess someone. No, it was a fucking drone that was flying by, and I thought that was creative. I was like, damn. And I kind of think to myself like, is did they use drone shots in this movie? Like, did they use a drone to do those camera shots? Because I don't think they could. Like I'm trying to remember how they did it in the first place when they did the first Evil Dead movie. I can't remember what they did to get that shot, but I thought that was a cool intro. But I really thought that intro could have been better if the Warner Brothers logo was somewhere. I don't know where. Like the Evil Dead camera comes in, and then it goes into the Warner Brothers logo, and then into like one of the holes of the New Line Cinema logo, and then it just goes to the credits. Like that would have been awesome if they did that, but no, they didn't, which I kind of got disappointed because it would have been awesome if they did that. That would have been like a better like like a logo sequence, is just do that, not the whole basic um that whole basic like, you know, Warner Brothers to the New Line Cinema logo kind of thing. I really think I already thought of a better way to handle that intro, but you know, you take what you can get. um and also like the credits sequence, like when one body rises up from the water and you see the title Evil Dead Rise. I was like, that was cool. I like that. And I did like this. I just think like when I was like thinking like I'm saying what's missing from it, and I'm thinking like I think this movie is in desperate need of an unrated cut. Like that's what I think. This movie is in desperate need of an unrated cut, and I feel like that's what it needs. It needs an unrated cut. And if there is going to be one released soon, hopefully soon, like with Megan had an unrated cut, I would love to watch this movie again, day one. Watch it again and see what was cut or see what we couldn't see in the theatrical release. I would talk about more of the kills, but it's kind of like a spoiler, and I kind of don't want to talk about it. But like wood chipper, elevator, awesome. Um, I could tell you that a guy's eyeball is ripped apart and spitted into someone else's mouth, and someone swallows it. And I just laughed, thinking, this feels like it was directed by Sam Raimi. Like it felt like it. It felt like Sam Raimi was directing this movie in some shots of the film, and I kept thinking to myself, "Huh, you sure? I mean, Sam Raimi directed or not?" Because some of the shots reminded me of Evil Dead, but also a bit of Drag Me to Hell in a way as well. And that was some of the stuff I was thinking. This was like, man, I really wish I got more horror from a different Sam Raimi project, which was Multiverse of Madness. I really felt like that movie was in desperate need of leaning towards more of the horror aspect. Yeah. To me, I give Evil Dead Rise 7.3 out of 10. I wouldn't say it's great as the 2013 remake. I still think the 2013 remake is great. But, I think this one does great. There's also a little callback to Evil Dead 2, which was, they said that you'll be dead by dawn. And I was like, oh, that's the title to Evil Dead 2. That's funny. That's the surtitle of Evil Dead 2. That's good. I like that. Yeah, that's all I can say about it. I did have a good time. I really hope there is a unrated cut of this. I really did like this film. Hopefully we get more Evil Dead movies in the future. I'm trying to think, what could you do next for an Evil Dead film? Could you do an Evil Dead film on an airplane or somewhere else? Like, where could you go? Like, there is like so many things. Like, I feel like this movie has opened up the possibilities that it doesn't need to be a cabin in the woods anymore. It could be anywhere you want, but you have to be creative with it and make it at least make sense with the location. Because there is things I could think of, maybe a plane, kind of like the plane from Snakes on a Plane that was big and had staircases and shit. Like, kind of like those ridiculous planes in movies. Like, kind of like that. If you could do it. Or on a train. Like, Train to Busan. But yeah. That's my Evil Dead review. On to the next. Is Ghosted. Starring Chris Evans. And one of my celebrity crushes. Ana de Armas. Which I was like, kind of like saw a trailer for this movie. It was an Apple TV film, and immediately when I saw the film saying like Ana de Armas is actually a CIA or secret agent, a spy, and Chris Evans didn't know, and he's dating her, and immediately I thought of so many movies. that have been in this genre for so long. And I usually call this genre dating a spy genre, which is true, let's just like, True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis, uh Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, and Night and Day with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz. And all those movies had a lot of things going for them. They had a lot of things. I mean, like, you had True Lies had Schwarzenegger and James Cameron. Mr. and Mrs. Smith had Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Um, and he also spiced it up by saying, no, they're both spies. Night and Day had Tom Cruise. Like, I think that's enough said right there. It had Tom Cruise already in your project. I mean, you already made something interesting. It's kind of like a movie. You should have called it like "What's It Like to Date Tom Cruise?" Only you cut out the Scientology part and just put the action part in it. This movie had nothing going for it at all. Like, I think it had nothing going for it. Where, like, two movies I can think of, it had good directors and writers and actors. Like, True Lies had Schwarzenegger and James Cameron was the director, so James Cameron was going to do something spectacular with it, with what he does, because he always tries to do something different in his films. James Mangold did the movie Night and Day, so of course he's a guy who has done action movies before, like Logan, Wolverine, 310 to Yuma, and James Cameron, of course, done action movies as well. But they also had what I think is that they did at least had the sense of humor. And the sense of humor is good too. Like, these action directors doing a comedy, unheard of. But, I thought they did perfect. I thought they did well with what they did. And this movie had Dexter Fletcher, I think his name is, the guy who directed the Rocket Man movie. The Elton John film, not the movie from the 90s where a dude goes into space. But there is this director. I don't think he's good at directing action. And not only that, the comedy seems by the numbers and basic as fuck. And there's only one joke in this movie that made me laugh. And that was mainly the cameos that happened in this movie, where there are these hitmen that are trying to kill Ana de Armas and Chris Evans. And each of them are played by a different known actor. One is played by Anthony Mackie, other played by Sebastian Stan. I can't remember who the other one was in the movie. Now that makes me want to look it up because I can't even think of who it was. I know it was Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, but who was the other one? It was... Give me a second at this point, because now I'm like, who was it? It was John Cho. Okay, it was him. John Cho was the other one as well. Okay. Hey, and of course, since this was written by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, guys who did Deadpool and other films that were good as well, of course they were gonna put a obligatory Ryan Reynolds cameo, obviously, just like Bullet Train did. Christ. Um, yeah. The movie felt bland. Like nothing new, nothing different, nothing that pushed boundaries. Like Ana de Armas, Chris Evans, you could have had fun with that. Like they're not bad actors. I love those actors. It's just that you could have had fun with that. Maybe this should have been directed by someone else. Maybe it should have been made by a different person or written by someone because this felt bland. Maybe it's not the writer's fault. Maybe it was the director's fault. Maybe they needed a better director at the helm to make this movie have more comedy, but also make the romance make sense and actually believable. And it doesn't do that for me, like at all. It doesn't do that for me at the slightest. It just feels meh. Like there was nothing about it that made me say that this movie's good. No, it's like, eh, just that. It's just, I don't know what to say about it. It's like 1 out of 10, just a 1 out of 10 movie for me. Yeah, granted, Ana de Armas and Chris Evans are giving it their best with what they were given, with the source, with the material they were giving. But like, I don't know. It's just like nothing felt right. Nothing felt interesting, which is kind of weird when a movie, the live action Super Mario Brothers movie, makes you laugh more than the fucking uh actual new movie. Well, not I'm not talking about the Super Mario Bros. Animated film. No, no, no. I thought that one was good. I did see that movie also. I'm not talking about that. Everyone already talked about it already, so I'm not gonna talk about it. But I will tell you, I did liked it. I still don't like Chris Pratt as Mario. Um, yeah, I have nothing to say about Ghosted. It just felt blah. That's it. That's all I have to say. It just felt blah to me. It just felt meh. I have nothing to say about it. It just doesn't hold a candle to all those other movies. At that point, I would just watch True Lies again and just see Schwarzenegger be a badass. Next one on our list of movies is like we got two more left. We have Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Now, I have seen the original Dungeons and Dragons movie, the one with Marlon Wayans, and I think the actor from Sliders was in it as well, and Jeremy Irons. And that movie was stupid. That movie was terrible. But God, is it hilariously bad. It is hilariously bad. That movie is so stupid, so dumb, and I am still trying to convince Mia to watch it with me. I'm still trying to convince Mia to see it with me, and we're gonna have an alcohol will be involved. We're gonna watch it. I want to record our reactions to it. It would be so hilarious to see her reactions to that movie for the first time ever. But I seen Honor Among Thieves. I saw it when it came out on digital, and when I watched it, I was like, had low expectations, but to me, it did look at least better than, the original Dungeons and Dragons movie. Honor Among Thieves, starring Chris Pine, not in jeans. No one's gonna get that joke but me. Michelle Rodriguez, Sophia Lillis, who I believe I remember correctly, she was in the It movie, and I'm not and a and a show that I like that I didn't get to finish yet. I am not okay with this. Um, and Justice Smith, who I hated in the Jurassic World movies, but I did like him in Detective Pikachu. Actually, hold on, I need to look up. I forgot. I think Justice Smith goes by different pronouns. Hold on. No, it says he. Okay. I didn't want to you know, be an asshole and say something different. Oh yeah, he was in The Quarry. Yeah, I remember he was in The Quarry. Yeah. I never played that. I heard about it. Yeah, and that movie to me felt like in mid to late 80s fantasy film. That's what it felt like. Mia says it reminds her of early Marvel movies and early MCU to be more specific. And I do kind of agree with her, especially with one scene that felt like the Hulk and Loki scene uh the Avengers. I did enjoy this film. I did like the characters a lot. I did like the world as well in the movie. I do remember a few things from Dungeons and Dragons. Not a lot. I have never played a D&D game before. I did see mimics in that movie. I was like, "Oh shit, a mimic." um I did like a lot of the characters' backstories and motivations and character. I thought it was handled pretty well for the most part. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the world. I did enjoy the characters. The special effects were amazing as well. I thought they were pretty good as well. I didn't expect it to be high budgeted. You would think that they would go for a lower budget, but no, they went all the way with this movie, and it's like, damn, that's amazing. I don't know if I've seen a good fantasy film in a long time. I say it's like it reminds me of mid to late 80s fantasy movies because it had that fun adventure like feel to it, like the comedy and like the look of it felt 80s to me. The look of it felt 80s. It felt so much like an old mid late 80s fantasy film with all these different characters. I mean, no practical effects whatsoever. I mean, a few, but not a lot. But still, it felt the vibe of it felt like it was a mid late 80s fantasy film with all the humor, with all the action, and a lot of the, like, again, the adventure and journey aspect as well. Like, the whole world looks so colorful and it felt like vibrant. I love each, like, world like, area they explore in the film. And I'm like, wow, I like to learn more about this world. And I did enjoy it. I thought it was fun. It was entertaining. It was a good time. It was like a movie that I would like. I'm here to have fun and enjoy life and just see a good movie that honestly the whole family can enjoy. No lie. It is. I did enjoy this film. I thought it was good. Like, would I want to see a sequel? Not really. I would honestly like Dungeons and Dragons to keep things different. Like, have it be like, let's follow a different cast of characters for each film. Like, each film should be standalone. I think that should be like the whole goal. Have each film be standalone. Like, if they do a sequel with these characters again, that would be interesting, but I feel like the character development and everyone's story was wrapped up already perfect. So I don't think they need a sequel. So I think it would be great to see like a standalone Dungeons and Dragons movie each film. Like each film will follow different characters and different like situations they get themselves into. I feel like that would be great to do if they were going to make like a new series of this. Like it shouldn't be focused on the same characters over and over again. It should be let's go and follow like Final Fantasy mainly, like Final Fantasy, like the Final Fantasy route. Just focus on different characters each movie. And I think you can turn a profit with that and hopefully get some directors like different directors, different writers for each film. Hopefully they are passionate about the Dungeons and Dragons series. Um and just have fun with it. Like that's it. It's a fun fantasy film. Like take you away from the cold harsh reality of the real world and just have fun. Like when was the last time we had a movie that was fun and we didn't need it to be thought provoking or have like a, you know, message? I mean, it did have a message, but you know, nothing too deep. Kind of like the Mario movie. The Mario movie was just him wanting to be a hero and proving that. And he did. Like, that's it. It's no need. He just needs to save his brother, step up and become the hero he set out to be to fulfill that promise. And then that's what he did. And also become a good plumber as well. That's it. I don't have much to say about the movie at all. Like, it is just a fun fantasy film that I think is reminiscent to early MCU films, is reminiscent to mid to late 80s fantasy films, kind of like Legend is what I'm thinking. It kind of had that feel of like Legend or Never Ending Story in a way. It kind of had that feel for me. And and that's what I was hoping for. Like, a lot of fantasy movies have not interested me lately. I really wanted a good fantasy film out there. The Hobbit movies were okay. I don't think they were great as the Lord of the Rings films. That new Lord of the Rings TV show, I don't think it looks good. I think it looks trash. I don't know if there was anything else that came out that I can remember, but this one, I say I kind of am sad that I never gone to the theater to watch it. But I'm glad I did watch it regardless. I give I forgot to, oh yeah, I give this movie 7.8 out of 10. I did love it. Next one, which is our last movie on the list, Kill Boksoon. I saw this recently. It's on Netflix. I was intrigued by the title from a, clickbaity article saying like it's like Kill Bill. It's not like Kill Bill. This is a South Korean film. I have dipped my toes in movies that are not from my country. And mainly it's movies from Japan. Mainly it's movies by the South Koreans. Which is not a joke. It's actually true. It's actually true. I have been watching movies that are from those only two countries. First Korean movie I've seen was a movie called Yobi and the Nine-Tailed Fox. I never talked about that movie on the channel, but I have talked about it when I used to have a movie review page on Facebook. And I talked about how it doesn't know what it wants to be half the time. There is what else? I think this was a Korean film. I can't remember. I don't think it is. I could be wrong. I saw Train to Busan. I think that is. I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Hey, there's also a movie. Oh yeah, I've also seen Indonesian films like the Raid movies. I've seen the Raid movies. I love the Raid movies a lot. Raid 2, those films were great action. Um, in Japan, well, there's a lot. I've seen mainly anime films and a lot of live action as well. I'm not gonna lie, I have seen a lot of live action as well from Japan. Not a lot, but I could tell you that there are a few good ones out there. If you're looking for, I can recommend a lot for you guys. Um, Kill Boksoon is more in the vein of John Wick. Like, it is very John Wick. Like, I can tell you this. The whole premise is it follows a well known assassin who is respected by many as the best. And she also is part of an organization of assassins. And they go by a code of rules that they all should abide by. And of course, she breaks these rules at the end of the film, just like John Wick does. Like, it is very John Wick. The action's great. A lot of the camera work is like it's minimal cuts, all action, kind of like, again, like the John Wick's films is like always trying to do like those one shot action scenes, of course. And Kill Book Sun does that too. It does have like that drama of saying like the same thing with John Wick and her and the character Boksoon. They both want to get out of being an assassin. They want to get out and live their life. Where John, of course, he's not living his life right, and he's just depressed all the time. Gil Boksoon, her name is Gil, yeah. And if you're wondering why the movie's called Kill Boksoon, it's actually her nickname, Kill Boksoon, since her name is Gil. She wants to get out and so she can raise her daughter, and she hopes and prays that her daughter doesn't become what she has become, which is a killer, and she doesn't want that for her daughter. And the whole movie, I honestly thought it was amazing. I like the action, I like the characters, the drama, and the between like the mother and her daughter. I loved the emotion, and I love the like whole like development of them rekindling their relationship, which she's trying to help her, she's trying to raise her, and she feels like she's being pushed away from her daughter until when the daughter needed her most, she comes to her with open arms, and the mother tries to help her in the best way she can. I did, and you can see Boksoon is like, she's tired of being this assassin, but in some respects, it's the only thing she's good at. But she wants her daughter to be better than her. She doesn't want this life for her. She doesn't want her to become her at all. She wants her to be better, and she really wants to raise her better, so she doesn't become as awful as her, since she chose to be a killer. And a lot of this movie does feel John Wick a lot. Her going against the fucking organization she worked for, like, basically, I'll kill them all, kind of thing. And I love this this whole like Sherlock Holmes thing that she does where she tries to like calculate her odds of survival when fighting someone, and it's usually her thinking in her brain, can I defeat this person? And it cuts to like her getting killed, and she's like, okay, I think they're two better than me, especially the assassin that raised and trained her. She tries to think of every possibility, what is his weaknesses and how can she defeat him. And I love this whole like special effect, this whole sequence where it shows multiple possibilities of how each scenario is going to end, and you see all these scenarios played out at once in this one room. And I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they, what CGI or green screen or what technology they did to make it look like there was multiple versions of these two actors, but they did a pretty solid job with it. And it shows every possibility, every scenario that she would choose. It always leads to her dying. And she's like confused and wondering what's going to happen. What do I do? Until she finally finds the one that she knows is the right one. And I thought that was a pretty amazing like action sequence. A lot of the action scenes are pretty good, especially this one at a restaurant that I thought was handled pretty well. I thought it was pretty creative and fun. I thought the action did great. I love like the humor, like the dark or like dry humor in this movie, because it felt like, you know, that kind of humor in John Wick where everyone just talks normally, like they're like old friends, old colleagues mainly, or like, hey, like people are gonna get killed, like I'm gonna kill my best friend, and then you just see them like, I'm sorry, it's nothing personal. And I love like there's this girl that is a student that's trained to be a assassin as well, and then Boksoon sees her like about to attack her, and then Boksoon is like smiling like, kid, you're going places. I thought that was funny, and actually pretty I actually thought it was pretty cool, pretty nice of her to be like, you might kill me, but hey, you know what? I think you're going places, kid. I like your style. There's a lot of things I like, and I read that this is this director's first time directing an action film, because I guess this director has been mainly doing drama films. And if this is his first action film, he did a damn solid job. Kind of like Ong Lee when he did Crouching Tiger and Hidden Dragon. Kind of like that. Like, if his director has done drama, he took the right notes on how to film action. And he might have took inspiration from the John Wick movies. He might have taken inspiration from the Raid films. Like, the action is great in this film. Like, it, the first act, I will tell you this movie is very slow and very long. Like, the first action scene in the movie is like the only action scene you're gonna get for a while until the next one shows up. Like, that's how long it would take. And it's crazy how long it takes, because most of it is just it feels like a drama. And I don't mind that. I thought it was, I enjoyed the drama in this movie because you actually like get concerned and you have a feel for the characters and you're worried about them, like wondering, oh my god, what's going to happen to this person or what's going to happen to that person. Like, there's a scene where Boksoon has to go to a meeting with the teachers at the private school that her daughter's going to, and it was a incident that happened, and it was like this serious scene that held on for a while. I was like, holy shit, what's gonna happen to the daughter? Are they gonna fucking arrest her? Are they gonna do something? And luckily enough, it's like, oh no, she's just getting expelled for a bit. That's all, or suspended, I think. And I love this moment with Boksoon and her daughter that felt like the tension was high. I mean, it seems typical, like every movie's done that, but something about the actors and how they sold it. I think that's what sold it for me, is that the actors do a good job uh making it believable. And I did like that. Like you can feel like the tension, and you can feel like that could cut, like can sharpen a knife, and you can feel like this pain um in in like when you hear the voice of the mom or the daughter, like you can feel like this sadness growing, like this anger or rage, or the everything that's like intense about it. Like it's crazy how the drama is more intense than the action, kind of, because it's like, oh, they'll make it out if you're alive, but here you're like thinking like, oh god, is she ever gonna, you know, reconnect with her daughter, and hopefully by the end of this movie and nothing goes wrong between them. And I'm glad it did. I was I was like so worried for the daughter because I was like scared, thinking something bad would happen to her. But I remember correctly is that one of the rules on that is in the for the assassins is they never target kids. Like they never target kids whatsoever. Like they're not 18. If they are 17, 16, or whatever, if they're little kids, you can't kill them. And I was so glad. I was like, oh, thank God the daughter is safe. Like I was like scared something would happen to her, but I was like so glad she was away from the radar of the assassins. And I was like, but still, it was like tension rising from you. Like you start to, like, your heart starts beating fast, wondering, oh god, what's gonna happen? Like it's like the action scenes is like mainly showing like, oh, it's a breeze for Boksoon, everything's fine. But when it comes to like life at her home, and hopefully not ruin the relationship with her daughter in her life, in her private life, that was the scary part for me. And I was like actually getting fucking goosebumps almost. Like I thought the drama was amazing in this film, and I think the two actors did a great job in this film. I think a lot of the actors did an amazing job in this film. It's just that, you know, again, it felt like a John Wick movie but made in South Korea, and that's mainly what it is. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It was depressing at times as well, but also pretty good film. I liked it. I give it 8 out of 10. I thought it was pretty good. Um, I say check it out. I don't hear much people talking about Kill Boksoon, but if you ever get a chance to see it on your Netflix page, go give it a watch. I highly recommend it. If you're looking for that John Wick itch that that's hurt, that's making you, that makes you want to scratch it, I think Kill Boksoon is good for you. Like you might like it, maybe you won't. Maybe you wouldn't like how slow it is at times. But to me, it scratched that itch for me because again, I recently saw a John Wick film in the theater, so I was like, damn, I want more action like that. And Kill Boksoon gave me that action. But yeah, that is the reviews I had for this video. Almost an hour long. But hey, that's the gist of it, isn't it? But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you in another video in the future. Who knows when? But yeah, tomorrow is the next episode of Resident Evil 5. We are close to the conclusion of Resident Evil 5, and I'm thinking it will end. And my bet is that the Resident Evil 5 mainline story is about to end on Monday, is my guess. Who knows? I mean, there might be more in the future, like the DLC and all that, but there is that is all I can think of at the moment. But anyway, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you Wolfpack in the next one. Ciao, darlings, and remember, you are loved.
Ow, ow, ow! Ow! Ow!